Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Book Talk Tuesdays, our show with brand new books for independent readers ages 8 to 12. I'm Miss Jessica, and I'm one of the youth librarians at the Chelsea District Library, and I have a special guest here with me today.
Hi, I'm Mr. Robinson, and I've taught at North Creek for 15 years in first and second grade. And then this year, I'm not in the classroom. I'm actually helping out with some technology things. But next year, hopefully, I will be back in the classroom teaching again.
Hi, Mr. Robinson. Thank you so much for being here. And I asked Mr. Robinson to come back. This is his second episode of Book Talk Tuesdays because I have even more brand new chapter books for beginning chapter book readers. And I have so many, there have been so many great series that came out this past year that I just couldn't help myself. And we have even more brand new beginner chapter books to talk about. So the first one I have is a new series that's kind of old, actually. I have the book Sprites Secret by Tracy West. And that name might sound familiar to you because she wrote Dragon Masters, which is a series we love here in Chelsea. Sprites Secret is part of a series called Pixie Tricks. And this series actually was written several years ago, and they've brought it back and rewritten it a little bit, made it sound really new and fresh, and also have brand new illustrations for it too. So in Sprites Secret, a girl named Violet discovers that there are fairies living basically in her backyard, and one of them needs her help. Sprite is a royal pixie trickster, and he has a mission. 14 fairies have escaped into the human world, and it's his job to trick them into returning back to the fairy world because they are kind of causing chaos in the human world. So together, he and Violet team up to round up the first fairy, Pix, who is just having so much fun playing with the humans that he won't let them sleep or even take a break to eat. It's just play, play, play all the time, which is not going well for the humans. I love this series because Tracy West, just like she does in Dragon Masters, manages to create a whole fantasy world in about 100 pages. And that's really, really hard to do. So I think this would be a great series for second graders who are ready to tackle chapter books and really dive into a great series. But there's only 2 books out so far.
Well, and I know one of my favorite series is Dragon Masters by Tracy West. And those are books, too, that are great for second graders or some first graders who are starting to get into chapter books. And if you have not heard about Dragon Masters and you like books that are set with like castles and kings and dragons, you will love Dragon Masters. And in those books, some of my favorite things about Dragon Masters are that they are action-packed. Like there's always something happening. There are great characters in there. Like Drake is the main character, and he's really kind and caring. But the other characters will remind you of kids in your class. Like there are some kids in there that are naughty. There's some kids in there that are helpful. And I know when I read those to our second graders, we went through like 5 or 6 of those books in just a few weeks. They love them. So if you're looking for a series where you can get a bunch of books and really get into it, I would really recommend Dragon Masters.
That sounds awesome. And I think that's perfect. If you want to try Pixie Tricks, but like I said, there's only those first 2 books out so far, you can give those a shot and then move right into Dragon Masters while you're waiting for the next one. That's perfect. So my next new book is also part of a series. The book is called The Silver Secret, and it's part of a new series called Snow Sisters. And if you love Frozen, if you love princess stories, this is the series for you. The first book was really cute. It's about triplets. They're 3 sisters, and their mother is in charge of this type of magic called the ever-changing lights. And it protects the island homeland that they live on. And a witch curses the girl's mother to try and steal the lights. And it's up to them to save the day. They have to rescue their mom. They have to get the lights back and keep the witch from doing any more harm to their homeland. So even though it kind of starts out like a traditional princess story, and there's the 3 sisters with these really pretty dresses on the front cover, there's actually something for everybody in this series. There is action and adventure. There is some mystery. There's a journey. The girls are traveling all over the island trying to help everyone. And there's even a magic polar bear cub. So it's a great choice. I would say probably for third graders. Um, some of the magic is a little bit more complicated than it is in Pixie Tricks. So I think that you have to be a pretty good reader to follow the plot line a little bit in this one.
Well, and I know that sometimes when I read books that have princesses or girls who are the main characters, sometimes my boys in my class start out with like, oh, and then when the story starts, they totally forget about that. So
Yeah.
don't let that stop you from reading a book that sounds interesting to you just because the main character is a boy or a girl. That does not matter. It's all about the story.
I feel the same way. I love books about everybody, and I feel like I learn a lot too about situations and people if I can read a book that's a little bit unfamiliar to me.
Yeah, and can you imagine if every girl, when they heard of Harry Potter, they were like, "Oh, Harry Potter, that's a boy," and they didn't get
Yeah,
a chance to hear that awesome story, right? So
right. You would
don't.
never get to read about how awesome Hermione is.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's a good this book, The Last Firehawk. This is such a cool series. Now, I know there's only a few of these out, but this is about a group of owls, and
Mm.
there's a certain owl here, and his name is Tag. And this owl is the main character, and he's a little small because some of these other owls, like the owls on this island or in this world, they're like the protectors of the world. And then there's the bad guy, or the group of bad guys are these. Um, is it a raven or a vulture? I can't remember. It was one of those two. It's, either way, he's a evil looking bird,
A
and
bird of prey.
yeah, that's right, a bird of prey. Well, anyway, Tag is kind of small, but he wants to join this group of owls that helps protect. And so he ends up being able to protect the land, and he meets some friends along the way. The illustrations in this book are fabulous. That was one of my favorite things. They're all black and white, but the way that the artist draws these, like the owls in there and things like that, they're just fantastically drawn. And it has just enough pictures to keep you interested, but not so many where you can't make up the story in your head. But in this one, The Last Firehawk, I don't want to give away too much, but neither of these characters is the Firehawk. That actually is the part of the story that you can tell is leading you into the next books. So I'm not going to tell you too much about the Firehawk, but I will tell you that it has something to do with a volcano, and that this Firehawk is the last Firehawk of his kind. So he's like the last one. Very cool stuff. So if you like
That
friendship books, adventure, there are some parts in it where like the bad guys can look a little creepy, but not so scary that you can't read it before bedtime, I don't think.
that sounds amazing, and I love that all of these new beginner chapter books don't shy away from more advanced literary techniques, because I think you were discussing what we call foreshadowing, right? Where there are hints
Right.
and clues about something that's coming up in the future, either later on in that book or in another book in the series. So
Right.
I'm telling you, these books that we have chosen today have some really, really great writing too. So the next one I have, it's a series called Kitty, and I love this series. It's actually not new. This is just the latest book in the series that I read. It's called Kitty and the Treetop Chase. Um, and I just love these books so much. They hit so many good points. It's about a girl who's a regular human girl by day, but by night, she has superhero powers that are kind of cat-like. So she has really good hearing, and she can climb and leap. She even has a little cat ear headband that she wears. So if you've ever read the Princess in Black series, it's kind of that same idea where she has this alter ego at night and can develop powers too. So she goes on all kinds of adventures and solves mysteries around her town at night as well. So in this book, Kitty and the Treetop Chase, she's very excited because she's going to have a sleepover with someone who could become a new friend. His name is Ozzy, but things are not going the way she expects. He's very, very quiet and shy, and Kitty is very outgoing. So she's not sure if this friendship is actually going to work out in it or not. So in the middle of the night, they're sleeping out in the treehouse, and one of her cats comes and wakes her up and says, "Kitty, We've got an emergency at the bakery. The new dogs that live there are just causing a ruckus. They're smashing cake pans. We've got to go see what's going on and help these guys out. So they go on this adventure all over the city. We've got Kitty, we've got Ozzy, who, as it turns out, has some superpowers of his own. And I'm not going to spoil how that friendship goes, but I really liked the way this one ended. One thing I really love about this book, and really all of these books have some fabulous illustrations, but this one does as well. They're just so unique. And every single page does something different with the pictures and the formatting. Here's another really pretty one. It's just Kitty up in the tree. And I think that these books would be really wonderful to do as a family read aloud as well. So they are not formulaic in any sense. And there's kind of a surprise really in every chapter.
Nice. Yeah. And you know what? I like how these books, all the books we're talking about today, if you can really find your genre. You can really find the books that you like to read. So whether it's about like kings and castles or superhero type themes. I know some kids, anything superhero, they love it.
Exactly.
And then like the kind of more like folklore and like really cool. And then, and if you're just looking for like a silly book, if you're looking for, it's kind of like, boy, it reminded me at first about Owl Diaries a little bit, but Owl Diaries is a little more about friendship and like serious, that kind of thing. This is Diary of a Pug, and this is Baron von Bubbles. So if that name right there, Baron von Bubbles, doesn't give you a hint that these books are pretty silly, and then Bella is his human, and there's Bella, and these books are written very lightheartedly. There's nothing too serious where you could just read one chapter and put it down. You could pick it up and read the rest of the book. It's very fun and easy to read. And one of the things, this is what reminded me of Owl Diaries. You can see how it's laid out. Every page has tons of colorful pictures. So if you were like kindergarten or young fives, this would be a great book to read to that child so they can see all the things going on. First and second graders, even up to third grade, would enjoy reading this book because there's not quite as much text on each page. It's just a little more of a fun book that they can kind of, I don't want to say turn off their brains because that's not what they're doing when they're reading, but you know what I mean, where they can just kind of take it easy and just have a book to enjoy. So I love this. And this book, Pug Blasts Off, these books seem to follow a little bit of a theme of something happens between Baron von Bubbles and Bella that they need to fix. So they're kind of a friendship duo, team. And so they're kind of a feel-good ending book to them. So I really like this one. I read this to a couple of kids who are in kindergarten and third grade, and they really liked it. They thought it was funny. And I was only going to read to them like a little bit at a time, but they were like, keep going, keep going. So that told me right there that it was an interesting enough book and funny enough book that they wanted me to keep going. So I'd recommend that one too, if you're looking for just a nice, easygoing book.
That is the sign of a great book, really, if you just can't put it down.
That's right. That's right.
So we've talked about 6 books so far, and that's normally what I do for each episode, but I have another brand new series and I just couldn't resist talking about this one. The series is called The Fabled Stables, and it's by Jonathan Auxier, who some parents or older listeners out there might recognize that name because he writes books for, I would say, kids probably in 4th grade and up that are just amazing. He writes fantasy stories, or what is his tagline? He writes strange books for strange kids, I think is what he always says. And he can just build these incredible fantasy worlds, and he will sometimes take things that might be familiar to us from fairy tales or folklore or fantasy stories, different sort of traditions in those types of stories, and really just sort of plays off of them in these really unique ways. Now he has this brand new series for beginning chapter book readers that does the same thing. So you're getting like a quality to the writing that is just unbelievable. So the first one is called Willa the Wisp. And it's about, the whole series is about this kid named Augie. And he lives on an island that houses this fable, the fabled fables. And it's his job to take care of all the magical creatures that live there. One day, he's out on the island and he hears this big boom. And he hurries back to the stable and a new stall has appeared. And the name on the stall is Wisp. And when he looks inside, it's like this swampy, murky, misty place that's just covered in moonlight. So he steps inside and he knows that it's his job to go find this wisp, whatever that is, and save it. So that's what he does. This book is a little bit deceptive because there's not a ton of words on each page, but some of the words and the way that some of the sentences are put together is a little bit complex. So this might be a good one, I would say probably for a third grader, or just to read with a parent, because like those color illustrations in Diary of a Pug, this book has these beautiful illustrations on every single page. They're just gorgeous. Let me see if I can find my favorite one. I don't want to show the very last one because it kind of gives away the ending. But this one, where Augie has climbed this gigantic ladder all the way up to the moon. It practically sparkles off of the page. So I really loved this book. You can actually see it's brand new. It's not even in our catalog yet. Still has its barcode sticker sticking out the top here, but it will be by the time you see this video. So I'd really recommend this series, and I cannot wait to read the ones that come next.
That was great. That was really, really interesting. I'll have to check those out.
I'm excited about that one. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Robinson, for joining me again today to learn more about these great beginner chapter book series.
Yeah, I was happy to do it. I love talking about books, and I love reading books to my son and to kids, and I love reading books to myself too. So I was glad when you asked me to do it.
Absolutely. Well, if you want to check out any of these books, put them on hold for pickup, you can contact the librarian at 734-475-8732, extension 219, or you can email us at ref@chelseadistrictlibrary.org. Thanks for watching.